Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Fun with Dumb. I'm feeling good and excited about our guest today. He is a good friend of mine and has accomplished some amazing things in the past few years, particularly for the Asian community, the Asian entertainment community for music. And his name is Sean Miyashiro. He is the founder of 88 Rising, a record label. They're just like a content creating machine. And globally, they've set up shop in China, Korea, Philippines, a lot of Southeast Asia, all over the world, and really kind of led this movement with Asian artists, Asian American musicians. So without further ado, we got Sean Miyashiro here.
What's good, brother?
What's up,
How
Sean?
you doing, man?
How you doing,
Good
bro?
to see you, man.
Good, good.
I like
Yeah,
your
man.
setup.
This is yeah, bro. Thank you for doing this, man. I know you keep a very low, mysterious profile, but I really appreciate you doing this. And because I feel like when I did a Google search on you, you had a couple interviews, like a lot of written interviews, a couple of video pieces. But I wanted to kind of go in depth as homies, because we've known each other for a few years now. Pre 88
Yeah,
Rising, and I realized like
a lot of soju,
we've hung out a
a lot of
lot.
soju.
What Yeah, a lot of soju, a lot of K-Town nights. But I realized I don't know too much about like kind of your origins, so I kind of wanted to start there. First of all, man, how are you doing during the pandemic?
Oh man, I mean, it's been a crazy year, right? But hopefully the world can come out the other end in a better spot. But yeah, man, I mean, we're just riding with the times. But I think that collectively, the company, the artists, we all kind of just roll with it, and I think we've been able to actually do what we're trying to do through digital means and stuff like that. So yeah, man. I mean, everybody's going through it, but all in all, I can't complain, man. I'm more excited about what we're doing than ever.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. I wanted to ask you, so Sean, you're half Japanese, half Korean.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, half Japanese, half Korean, and you're from the Bay Area,
Yep. San Jose, California.
San Ho, which has a lot of big Asian
Tons,
community too,
man,
right?
tons. Yeah, I mean, it's I see a lot of similarities between, I would say, San Jose and Southern California. Like the Asian American experience. Really, it's like there's tons of Vietnamese, Filipino, Korean. Uh, doesn't seem like there's a lot of Japanese people anywhere in America. That's what I've noticed, man. It's like where all the Japanese Americans at, but
Aren't they in like Torrance or something, or like
I
Gardena
don't
or
know,
something
man.
like
Is
that?
it you would know more than me?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't particularly grow up with a lot of Japanese, which is, I mean, I guess in Southern Cali, I didn't know where they were
I think
really. You know,
there's a lot of them in Hawaii, man. Hawaii is where
Hawaii,
they're all posted up.
true.
Yeah, man.
So, like, let me start from the roots. Like, how did you particularly like get into music? I mean, as a teenager, but I know you did like event organizing too, right? Early on.
Yeah, man. I mean, I used to throw events quite a bit when I was just young. Just like when you're a promoter or you organize an event, typically you kind of actually like that's where you learn quite a bit because your own your own kind of money, reputation, all this stuff is on the line, really, even though it's like local. So you learn a lot, though. You got to promote, you got to market, you got to do all these different things. And yeah, I used to throw a lot of events. I used to manage a nightclub. I managed two nightclubs when I was like 20 years old, bro. Like just
Managed a nightclub? Like, what kind of nightclub was it?
I
Like an
don't think that
Asian
was very
club or what?
legal, but I did, and I would bring in like a lot of artists that I just like, San Jose kind of lacked any real cultural like place of gathering, even though there's a lot there, and San Jose is a really big city, and there's a lot of great people, a lot of great people interested in cool things. And so I just really took a lot of time, and I enjoyed just putting on events where people that liked, specific type of music, specific type of art, to just come together and just even like be together. So
Yeah.
that was a big part of like my early 20s. I used to throw a lot of events at my school, San Jose State University. And I even threw like, African American like Greek step shows. I swear to God,
Oh
I used to
wow,
put
step
on step
shows.
shows, bro. Oh, bro,
Stomp the
like
yard
it was
joints.
when I first saw a step performance, I became obsessed with it. I would like order videos and shit, just watching people do step.
Like the full on
Oh,
scene,
that's
like
crazy.
Anwin mixtapes of like step
I was
videos.
the only Asian person there. And like it was fun. It would be funny because there would always be hosts of these events, and they would always like in the intros they'd always like make fun of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in front of
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, yeah.
But it was fine. But yeah, man, I would just throw a ton of events, like all different types, and so it was a really great experience. And then I dropped out.
You dropped out of
I
college?
did. I didn't finish. Yeah, I used to.
Why?
Um, I think like I just started like becoming a little. I kind of gained some traction, I guess, with like some of the events that I was doing, and I just like was like it just took me that way, you know. So I used to like drive around in the parking lot, go trying to go to class, and I wouldn't find parking, and then I just bounce.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I probably didn't even drop out. I probably got kicked out. Who knows? One of the two.
Wait, so why were you organizing shows in general? You just wanted to see more of the type of music and performers that were lacking, or what?
Exactly, and it's this type of stuff that I liked, like bringing like Questlove or like Z Trip or the Clips to San Jose, like Zion, a lot of the Bay Area rap. I just wanted to bring that to like because I wanted to see it too, and I think that a lot of people really appreciated that, and like just me and like close circle of friends of mine just built a little crew, and we just kept throwing these events, and it was really dope. And then we started getting bigger, and we started throwing our own music festivals. Even though they were so unorganized, man, like they were just like it was a shit show. Like I would try to throw like 12-hour music festivals, you know what I mean, with like
Yeah,
40
yeah, yeah.
acts. And it was fun, man. It was just like being young and trying things, and like the passion was always like really just really naturally there, like I just love bringing people together. um it was a dope time.
What happened like after you dropped out of dropped out of college? Like, what did you get into? Did you get into like what was your
I
job?
actually, like when I dropped out, I wouldn't say I dropped out. I think I took a semester off and I never went back. That's kind of what happened. But I don't know, man. I think that like when I was in my early 20s, even though I was doing a lot of things that I personally loved, like having Asian, two Asian parents that like really worked hard to kind of provide a foundation and an opportunity to succeed. I certainly wasn't going down that proposed path. Like my parents would often worry. I didn't have I wasn't in school, so and I would kind of like growing up too. I had a lot of Asian American friends that studied their asses off, and all went off to like really good schools and stuff like that. So I was kind of like the only dude that was kind of left in the city, and I was worried. I was kind of like I would always kind of wonder what I was gonna be and what I was gonna do, and if frankly if I would ever amount to anything. Like I remember like working at a restaurant, and like have you ever worked at a restaurant, bro?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like
Waiter, host, server, all that
oh
shit. Yeah.
yeah, you're probably the chef, like all that. But you know how like after you're done with working at like after a shift, how tired your body is. Your
Hmm.
body is just so sore because you're up the whole time, and excuse me, and like I remember just like every single time I'm off a shift, I would just sit in my car because it's the first time I'm sitting down in like 8 hours. And every single day I would just be like, damn, like I'm tired as fuck. Am I ever gonna be shit? And so
Yeah.
that was a all those times, and we've all kind of been through those times of like doubt, wondering, anxiousness. Those were really important times too because it kind of forced me to like really hustle. Like I remember my you could ask my parents, like I would always do so many jobs to make money. You know, like I don't care if I was like a newspaper boy or I'm not kidding, I was like a newspaper boy. I was like I would just do a lot of jobs just to like, make as much money as I could. And yeah, it's I forgot the fucking question too, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, no. I was just saying, like, kind of what you got into. Were you doing like organizing full time? Like, what were you trying to transition into? Did you
Oh,
work
word.
some like?
Yeah, like actually like a lot of the work that I was doing, it's like bringing together artists and art and supporting trying to give like local artists or bring national artists to the Bay. And it was all like the like-mindedness to, like the natural extension to that is just like more so helping people. So I actually worked my first full-time jobs, I believe, were like two nonprofit organizations. One was for um like teaching like just like underperforming elementary schools. There was a bunch of elementary schools that were like in just kind of underperforming on like the testing scores. So like I did that for a while, like tutoring the kids on, helping them like perform better on the tests and stuff like that. All the way
Yeah,
to, another like nonprofit in San Francisco. So like, that was like I was really just really trying to help people at the time. And then, the organizing of events kept going. And eventually like, you know, companies like, who were trying to align themselves, I guess you could say, with culture, like Red Bull and Toyota Sign, if you
yeah,
remember that. Those guys just
yeah,
started hitting me up trying to do bigger stuff, and that's kind of how I, started to understand the connectivity between how a brand, like a multinational brand or a global brand like Red Bull, with such big aspirations, but they always wanted to do a lot of things with authenticity. I was getting hit up by a lot of random companies to just do things, but Red Bull and companies like that who really start to employ people from the music space or the art space, like just so that they can come at it with a point of view that actually is going to help the artist. I really appreciated that, and they actually taught me the importance of that. And even through Red Bull, like I don't know if you heard of the Red Bull Music Academy, but like um
yeah. Of course.
the Red Bull Music Academy was really dope because they flew all these people from around the world, people who in their local cities were really trying to bring communities together, just like I was. And we all kind of met in Philadelphia, I remember, and I remember meeting Diplo there. And this is when he was just like really early on in his career. All these amazing people from around the world: Berlin, Sydney, Australia, Tokyo. And these are people that have really actually kept close relationships with over the past 10 years, and really has helped me in specific projects and things of that nature. So it was really that all those things kind of culminated into, I guess, what you can see now.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about like the blog that you started prior to like selling. It was an EDM blog, right?
Oh, it was a content platform with Vice called Thump.
Yeah, yeah. So you started this website, Thump, and it was focused on EDM,
It's,
right?
it's focused on dance music. Like I personally like
Yeah,
EDM is I mean, shout out to EDM, but like EDM is kind of like that whole thing. I really like dance music. So, um, yeah, I started that with the homies at Vice. I learned a shitload there because look, like during that time, Vice was like killing it on all angles in terms of like their creativity and content, their innovation. They got like HBO shows and stuff like that, and I was able to work with the top guys over there. And they were kind of like, it was interesting because like the homies that I was working with on my end, they had all the artists. They were managing or representing all the artists in the dance music space. Vice had obviously the best content capabilities, like really a strong understanding of media, a global kind of reach. So they were just like, look,
yeah,
we don't know anything about dance music, but we know that this shit is big. You guys have all the
yeah,
artists, you guys know everything about dance music. Let's just create this thing together. And it was really dope because I was able to work with like the chief content officer, Tom Punch, who's like my friend to this day. and even Andrew Craig, all these people who were shaping this such an innovative media company, and they taught me a lot. They probably thought I was like super. They probably thought I was a dumbass because but I had to
Yeah,
learn
yeah,
like
yeah.
really fast, like how how like business how strong business mind can actually help move what you want in terms of supporting the culture, supporting the artists forward. That a lot of the times, like a lot of these things have to align, or things are just going to fall off the rails.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you. So going into that venture, I know like when I met you, it was it like pretty much right after like you left that venture particularly?
No, I was actually in LA. I remember this. Like, Vice has an office in Venice, and
Yeah,
I would go out there because I was working on this like new project for them. Frankly speaking, I had zero interest in what I was working on at the time, and I was just thinking like, I was kind of losing a little bit of passion for what I was kind of working on every day, and I was like, look, like, and I would, I don't know how we started hanging out. We just started like, I'm not sure what the genesis of it all was. Do you remember?
yeah. It was just like a mutual friend who was telling me like you there was a dude who's like trying to start up like a whole management company or a label focusing on Asian artists. And I think that's how he set up the intro. And then we just like grab a drink or something, and then you were like kind of going into this vision of what you were trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this was prior to like the name 88 Rising or what it was really. Because originally, like, I mean, you're doing that now, but it wasn't necessarily focused on just music,
Right, right.
right?
At first,
Uh,
I think the genesis of a lot of this was, you know, us hanging out, and like, even like your circle of just people that would just hang out with you were just all so talented, like in their own right. Like you had the dope illustrator here, you had the dope director here, you had like actress, like Aquafina. Like I remember like
yeah, yeah,
I remember one time she was like in the back of a Camry with Zoe, like just rolling around, right? Like it's
yeah, yeah.
like we're just like like 4 years later, it's like look at everything now. It's pretty crazy to really think about. But at the time, dude, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any like nothing was super tangible. We were just kind of figuring things out, writing things as we go, and the concept was, and the dream was just like, look, like at the time there was no Crazy Rich Asians. There wasn't anything to really look to. And in terms of music, and the type of music that you and I probably like, the only kind of representation in from an Asian perspective was Korean pop music, and
Right,
which
right.
is which is which is which is dope and all good in its own right. But I think that like, we didn't really have anything to look to, and I think we just wanted to try. Like my whole thing was, how can we just build something on the internet that can really celebrate a lot of the Asian talent, even just people that we know. And I remember you
Did
showing
you feel
me,
like something
yeah,
was? Did you feel like something was actually like brewing though? Because the one thing that I find interesting is like we were talking about even early on when we're hanging out, and there were the Aquafinas and even Asian talent that was just about to kind of spark off, but it felt like everything was kind of happening at the same
yeah.
time. While you were conceiving this, it was like Crazy Rich Asians was in the works too. Like, um, why in particular did you? I know you were passionate about it, but did you also feel like there was this kind of wave coming?
Dude, I mean, I think that the one thing that I didn't know that a wave was coming at all. I think that I just knew that I was gonna try to be a part of that and try to push and do what I
Hmm.
can, which to me like was nothing either. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
Yeah.
things had to go right, and I think to your point, like I remember I was sitting with you one day and you're like, Sean, check this out. It's just literally something simple because, bro, you've told me to check a lot of things out, like tons of
Yeah.
things, like
Yeah.
shit every day. Um, and it's like you showed me Keith's Itchy Mod video, and like I mean it was totally different. It's something, a feeling.
Here's a dope
Yeah.
thing about working with you is that when I show you certain things, like you're like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like I showed you the Keith video early on, and you're just like, next thing you know, the day after, like we're on a fucking FaceTime call with
That's
him.
right.
You know what I'm saying? We're like on a FaceTime call with him. We're like, yo, like let's do the remix. Let's put the single out, whatever. And I think that's the part of like what 88's built's been great is like when you talk about these things, but you actually execute it. You're like, let's go, full speed on them, which is there was a lot of risks taken early on in that department too. I remember,
Yeah.
because it wasn't like mad funding was there or not, but these were ideas like we were particularly excited about.
Right. I mean, and that's the whole thing. It's just like the excitement of it all, the energy of it all, like just pushed us to do it. It's not like I had the master plan at any moment, at any time, even when you showed me Keith's video, the only natural next step is like, yo, we really like this. There's something dope here. Like, how can we
Yeah.
just try to help it? It's never to approach an artist and be like, or something that's happening and be like, yo, dude, we got to do all this shit like so far into the future. It's just like the thing that I think 88 Rising, a big part of the early on success was just like, what is the next thing that we can do? What's the next thing that we can do naturally? And that's
Yeah.
how I think we've built, like, or I built like a lot of the relationships with each artist. Like, oh shit, damn.
A full on alarm
All
there.
good. Yeah. So like the whole thing, the whole approach with every single artist is just like, yo, let's build a friendship and a relationship. And then like let's just like let me understand like what you naturally want to do, what your vision is, and like try to move you to the next step. I'm just like a facilitator.
Yeah. Before we continue, I just want to tell everybody in the chat and on the Discord, if you want to ask a question, like in about like 20-30 minutes, we're going to go into some questions so you guys can actually call in and ask any questions. I know I get DMs like every day from some like young Asian kid, like sending me a SoundCloud link being like, yo, how do I get on 88 Rising? And so this is your chance to ask any question, not to play your SoundCloud link, but just to ask any question that you have maybe about the industry or about the label, or put it in the chat too, and I'll ask these questions, and I'll ask the questions from the chat to Sean. But I want to particularly ask, so as you were building artist to artist, like from Keith, early on with me and Josh, and just building the roster, right? Like, was it particularly like, did you see it from like song to song perspective as to like artist to artist? Like, how do you view like what kind of artist might fit in right with what you're trying to build?
That's a good question because it's evolved and changed over time. Now as I speak to you now, like my filter for who I would personally be excited to work with is very different. Like before it was kind of like just everything was really organic. Like, oh, even the way that you introduced me to Brian, how we met Joji through Josh, all these different things. It was all just kind of like just degrees of separation, like law of attraction type
Right.
shit. And so, but now, like, as you just said, we come across artists in so many ways, in so many different
Yeah.
scenarios, bro. Even to an extent of like somebody sending a SoundCloud link. Like, for real, there's been
Right.
artists that in the past year, and trust me, I get like thousands of those, a week. I get a lot of
Right.
fucking just emails of like, song
Yeah.
submissions and stuff. And that's beautiful. And it's impossible to open them all, right? But I do open a lot of them. I try to open, and sometimes for whatever reason, when I'm like in my inbox, like I look at a specific email headline or something, and I so happen to open it. And what's crazy is some of these things have just transpired into like somebody doing something with us. So there's just a lot of different ways, but I think that there's three main factors that I kind of really that are really important to me now, which is that the artist has such a specific vision of where they want to go from a personal artist perspective, their artistry, their sound, and what they want to represent. And um, one of the most important things, to be honest, is like if I personally can work with them. You know, like
Right.
if I if if I really will enjoy spending a lot of time talking to them and working with them, because like people don't know, like, you know, this, and I didn't know this either. And I remember people
you,
always saying music is the hardest business or industry to make it in. And dude, I fully 1000% buy into that shit. I really, really
I know
do.
for
It's
sure
fucking
when
complex,
you
bro.
jumped into managing multiple artists, like I was there for that process too, and I know it was such a difficult process because you're not only working with artist types. You know, artists have a type. They could be very scatterbrained, and also young people. You
Mm.
know, it there could be a lot of clash there with stubbornness or whatnot, and working with any role on your team, you have to be able to work with each other and let down egos and just be able to endure that. So I know you've experienced kind of that struggle of learning how to do that,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, like it takes a certain type of person to be on the other side of the artist too, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, I think that and look, like I'm still learning, bro. I'm learning a lot, and I'm trying to improve all the time, especially like, but you know, I have to say that it's been really good, you know, like I think that each artist's relationship is different. It's like having like, you know, each of them is like you're in a relationship with, like straight up, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because everybody's so different, and you can't treat everybody the same. And like, you know, everybody needs like the nurturing and the right photosynthesis so that they can be successful. And so
Right.
yeah, man, but the one thing I have to say about all the 88 Rising artists is that like there's a true love between all of us. You know, like we not only personally really appreciate and respect each other, but we all know that collectively combined on some like Voltron, like Avenger shit, that we know exactly, I think more now than ever, of what we represent. You know, I think that it's taken a while to even realize that, and that's fine. But we realize that, but I think that with this comes, you know, a lot of responsibility, a lot of a lot of drive and push to be better, be more creative,
Yeah.
like just push ourselves, you know, in every single way possible. And I think that's something that we all really believe right now.
What's the third thing? You said there was like three things.
Well, I think
There was like being
I think like well, I think that each artist needs to have a very clear vision of where they want to be. And number two, the number two, well, the third thing, the last thing always is, can I work with them? I think maybe we skip number two, which is I think that like uh they need to have a very clear, even differentiation from other artists. Like they all have to be like, they all have to have their own special powers. You know, I don't want
right.
to, and this is like, this is facts. Like, I don't want to have two uh two of the same type of artists that make the same set
Right.
type of music. You know, it's not fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I want to talk particularly about like these like two big artists you have on the roster, Joji and Rich, right? Because they come from these very different genre worlds originally, you know, like very internet heavy. You know, I remember when I met Joji with you, you know, I knew him as his internet persona on YouTube, and getting from there, that like internet persona, to like where he is now as like a literally certified like pop star dude, you know, like numbers wise and all that. Like that's something that it's like going into that and investing the time to build that and kind of find a sound, right? Was it pretty casual with someone like Joji in particular?
Yeah, I mean, Josie's a genius, and he's a super special person and artist, and like that's why so many people love him. You know, I think that he has a natural kind of magnetic uh personality and like artistry that people just, you know, gravitate towards. And so it's been a pretty seamless, it's just it just we just go, and like his
Yeah.
album's coming out, and I'm super excited about it. Everybody's super excited about it, and I think it's going to be a huge step.
So one of the questions here that got kind of pinned was, how do you draw the line between being a friend and being a manager? And to me, that's an interesting question because it seems like you give a lot of freedom, right, as a manager, to let artists do things artistically. But I've worked with you before, and you are very vocal too about ideas and the creative,
Yeah.
of like when something you're not feeling or whatnot, you'll give your input. Like, how do you balance that kind of input?
I think that the good part about it is, and look, like, bro, like not everything is perfect, right? Like, sometimes we'll just not agree, but most of the time what I think, like, the foundation of it all is, again, like, there's a trust and there's a foundation between all of us, and that I just personally want the best for them. It's not about anything else but like them, because and to do that, you got to know what they want. You got to go back to, like, hey, what exactly do you want? And something is not going to get them to that point, maybe even set them back a little bit. I'm going to call it out for sure. But yeah, man, I mean, other than that, um usually there's just they're like, people just know that I want the best for them, and it's cool because they want the best for me too, and like, we're all together in this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that it sounds really lofty, and like, like everything is like peaches and cream and stuff like that. But like, that's how it really is. It's just like, we're just like really like bunch of normal friends type of thing.
It has the mission statement of like 88 Rising from when you first started to what it is now changed, just because of what landscape and the role like Asians have now in the entertainment landscape?
Yeah, I think that before, it was kind of like, how do we get to be more visible? How can
Yeah.
we, and to do that, like, so many things have to go right. Like you got to make good shit first of all, right? Like, nobody's gonna care about you if you're not making anything that resonates with them, and so, um, that started happening, and that was hard enough. But like, so that was kind of like phase one of it all, and when everything started happening, and then 88 Rising kind of had this, like, a lot of people, really want 88 Rising to keep going, like, get better. And so, and it started to mean a lot to people. So I think that now, just over time, naturally, like, in our evolution, we just want to make sure that, like, um one of the big things is, like, bringing people to understand each other more, because
Right.
me as an Asian American, like, bro, like, I before meeting Brian, I didn't know what I heard of Indonesia, but I didn't know what an Indonesian
Yeah,
street
yeah.
looks like. I don't know what the language
Right.
sounds like, bro. I don't know shit. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think that, and I like, it's just a, like, a small example of the amount that we don't know about each other and our experiences, our history, the intricacies, and there's so much to unpack, right? In every single dynamic
Yeah.
between each other. And so I think that, first of all, we need to keep learning. We always need to keep learning, and and receive information and all that good stuff. But like, I think that for us, we just want to kind of do things to provide opening of the
Yeah.
heart, to even, like, come closer together. And I think that, like, I'll
Yeah.
give you an example.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Um, like, look, like, you and I, like, love hip hop music. We grew up on hip hop music, and hip hop is obviously becoming it's such a large global genre, right? People are loving it from around the world. But I think that so many people in Asia, like our audience, which we have a very large Asian audience that are in Asia, a lot of them have never been to America. They only experience what America could be like through the internet, through music, through movies. So I think that one thing that we really want to do, as hip hop continues to evolve, is we want to make sure that people understand those trailblazers who actually really helped evolve the genre to where it is today. And there's so
Yeah.
many, and that's the beauty of it all, because if we can show who Cool Herc is, his story, or Q-Tip, or E40, all the people from different parts of America that have like, have their own
Yeah.
point of views and their own stories and their own upbringings. It's like, and their own sounds. Um,
Yeah.
there's just so much, and we're really like, and I talked to you about this before. We're really trying to create this really amazing content program that we're just gonna like create it with our own, money, our own time and resources, but like give these people platforms so that they can tell their story. And when you're a kid in Jakarta, Indonesia, that loves hip hop, but you have no idea who Q-Tip is, or like
Right.
it's like, or KRS-One, or any of these guys, it's like
Yeah.
hopefully you can understand and like be interested and be motivated to do your own research and do more. I think that
Yeah, the history is definitely important,
yeah.
and I think definitely just being in a unique position to educate is great. Just I mean, the crazy thought about it is some people's introduction to hip hop will be through whether it's 88 Rising artists or artists that aren't black or whatnot, but it's important to kind of show the roots
Yes.
of where it came from,
100%.
Um,
100%. I
yeah,
think that actually
yeah,
goes to show too that even just a younger person in America, like if you're 20 years old, you might not know Tribe Called Quest or Nas, or like you might have
yeah,
heard of them, but you might not be super familiar. And there's two just main points about all of these amazing artists and their stories, is that how they've done so much sonically to move like the sound of everything, but
yeah,
also just like their own personal stories and what they're talking about in their music. I think that there's so many stories that people can really get into and understand, like how the Drakes of the world are here, and stuff like that.
yeah.
So, um,
Do you what was I gonna ask? I was gonna ask about with 88 Rising. There's like this bittersweet feeling because there's a lot of Asian artists and we encounter them every day through DMs or we're sharing stuff. But I do feel like maybe a lot of Asian artists in general still feel like they can't get their foot in the door through like the music industry, right? So like you get a lot of people hitting up 88 Rising because they know they specifically are like trying to push Asian music forward, right? Do you feel that? Like, how do you feel about the music industry in general? Do you feel like it's more open now?
I think it's more open. I think it's still very
Okay.
difficult, but I think that right now is um, the most like the most exciting time in music ever, because you have so much like ability to come from anywhere, put up your music and pop off, to be honest. And like it's not easy, but I think that you know you see Latin music and how big it is. It's insane, bro. That shit is ridiculous, and it's like
Yeah.
there's just so many people making music from their own cultures. It's phenomenal. And like the more that this happens and the more kind of open the world is to listen and experience other genres of music and and artists, I think that that it's a great time. And if you're like an artist, or you're like a small if you want to work in music and you want to kind of do your own thing, like right now is the best time to do it. You really can do it. And I think that that's proven a lot. I see so many really dope um collectives coming from Asia that just are just creating their own wave, and like just like we did, and so I think that thought and that direction is just going to continue more and more over time. And I see stuff popping up everywhere, in all these different countries, and so it's pretty exciting.
What's like the second wave? I mean, I don't know what wave at this point it is for 88 Rising. I would say it's beyond that, but like, what is the next wave and kind of goals for 88 Rising in general? Like, you have a strong roster, and I saw you guys are expanding into the Philippines,
Yeah.
finding talent there, which is great. Um, but is it just a constant flow of like, okay, like it's not like you shut the gates. You're constantly just finding, if you find talent and that you really want to work with, then you guys will work with them. Is that how it's working? Or
Yeah, pretty much, man. It goes back to the beginning, where it's like, it doesn't matter where you're from. But like, the Philippines was a really cool example of Because sometimes it's good to have structure, right? So like, the Philippines, we were lucky enough to have a company there really support us and like something that's more scalable so that we can have full-time people working on trying to find really great Filipino artists, and then once we find them, really help them and develop them and market them. And so that's been really good. But like what we're doing in the Philippines, we'd love to do in every single country if we can. So we're trying to do that in Vietnam right now. We're trying to do that in Thailand. Um, and
Yeah.
it's really just going back to why 88 Rising started, because it's like there's so many, when Brian pops off or Nikki pops off and like they're representing Indonesia, like a lot of people start, there's just a much heightened like visibility of that country, and so like
Yeah. True.
it's just like what has happened in Korea, right? Like the entertainment, the cultural commerce of K-pop and the dramas and stuff like that, bro. Like people are just fucking learning Korean all over the world. You know what I mean? And wanting to
Yeah.
visit Korea. And so I think that if we can just, again, it's just like opening up a gateway and understanding what a Vietnamese street looks like. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people don't know, and so through music and through video content that we can make, we could just open people's eyes and help people see new things. And that's really, I think that's really our purpose. I think is just providing a gateway, a spark, and and then have people kind of hopefully appreciate it for what it is.
Let me ask you this, because I know you're like me. We're both Asian Americans from Cali, and like you said, you didn't know much about Indonesia until you started working with an Indonesian artist, and that's the same with me. Like I didn't know a single Indonesian person until I got on a call with
Really?
Brian.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
have to
like
say the same, bro. Like I didn't have any Indonesian friends growing up. I didn't know any
yeah.
Indonesian people. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like my first Indonesian friend happened to be this young kid who was like 16 at the time, calling from Indonesia. But the one thing I was going to ask you is, like, as you get into this kind of music, you've been in the music industry, but it feels like you started for the first time working with all these artists from different countries and kind of learning the different logistics and different ways things work, right? Because I know when you go to Korea, there's a different way to conduct
Oh,
business.
hell yeah.
You go to China and all that. Is there
Wow.
talk a little bit about the difficulties you've had like navigating that?
Everybody, every country is different, and,
Yeah.
and naturally so. But I think that we've been super lucky, bro. Like honestly, like people respect. There's an inherent respect for what we're doing and how hard this shit is. Like
Yeah.
this shit is not easy. Like I feel like yes, we did trailblaze to a certain extent, but like, and I think that people, because like when American labels step to all of these artists in Asia, and you know these big labels are capable. They're super capable at working records, 100%,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what they do. But I think that when you're a manager or you're an artist talking to these cats who probably have great intentions, who knows? But like when they talk to us, it's completely different because they know inherently why we exist, why we started, right? They
Right.
know that like how it doesn't matter how well this really does. I mean, we want everything to reach its potential, but like they know that if they do something with us, then they're part of something that has kind of just a bigger meaning, I guess you could say, right? And like
Right.
people really love that, and they know that our intentions are good. So it's like it's always a pretty natural conversation. And then when we get into the nitty gritty of creative or things of that nature, yeah, we've learned a ton because there's a lot of intricate, even relationships between countries in Asia
Oh
that,
yeah.
frankly
Yeah.
speaking, as you know, just my dumb ass, like I didn't know so much, right?
No, I know, because we're just like, music is universal, which it
Yeah, right.
is. I mean, it is universal if good music is good music, but I think a lot of people don't realize it is really hard to work with multiple, like a roster of people coming from all different places around the
Mm.
world, because different places have different ethics and business conduct and things you can do and you can't
Right,
do.
right, right.
I think people would be really surprised to know like a lot of how that
Yo,
operates, you
it's
know?
hard, and frankly speaking, like we consistently learn the hard way. We like
Yeah, right.
consistently that doesn't stop. That's a constant, is like learning the hard way all the time.
Yeah.
But thank God, it's just like, once you learn, and um, there's a lot of I would say, I'll say this. Um, Korean. Let's talk about Korea real quick, because
All right.
because we're starting to just organically have Korean artists hit us up and wanting to work with us. They're fucking with what we're doing. They love the artists, and they're big, and
Yeah.
but I think that they're so good at what they do, bro. Like, they make amazing music. They know how to market shit. They know how to present stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I'm talking to them, and like for me, and me, like, I don't like working on shit if I'm not like super working on it and influencing what the fuck is happening, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so, damn, I'm just like, dude, what am I doing here? Sometimes, because
Because
they
they're already
just know
coming
what the
from a
fuck, they know
background
what they're
of,
doing. They're really,
yeah,
really good.
they're coming from already like they've already gone through how to market albums, the crazy music videos. So you're like, oh, okay, it feels a little like a lot of pressure,
A lot of
right?
pressure.
Them
I'm
coming to
intimidated. What
you.
can I add here?
Right, right, right.
But like, it's cool, man. Like, I think that the one thing that certainly, like, I think that, like, we always love making music, with artists, and so, like, that's been a good process. But there's things that we got to learn too, like, and hopefully we can also teach everybody of like how, because the thing that's on everybody's mind is, how do we get bigger in the world? Like, how do we get
Yeah.
bigger in America? And typically, a lot of the times, the barometer of success for a lot of these artists is like, yo, I need to get on late night television. Like, get me on Jimmy
Mm.
Kimmel, or I need to be on like
Yeah.
some BuzzFeed listicle or some shit, And it's like, dog, that shit doesn't mean anything, bro. Like, you
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
Like, the shit that means something is when your song pops off and people like replay your song because they love it, and like they love you as an artist and what whatever you make them feel. And so,
But I think that's what people respect about 88 Rising is not even, I think, of course, the music is so great, but originally when you see the roots of 88 Rising, you guys were kind of the outcasts. Like, if you look at the roster of kids, right? Like Joji, this weird internet kid coming in, Rich Brian, this young teenager from Indonesia who grew up on the internet, the Higher Brothers that looks like their own like their own anime. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think something about that people are drawn to because it seems so like non-contrived, where a lot of the music industry um has a lot of these I hate using the word plants or whatever, but it's just like, there's a system that was implemented from the beginning of like how artists get big,
mm,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's true. It's
So I
true. I think that that's why,
yeah,
like, that's why we're here, bro, is because, like, you can't fake, doing shit naturally and like organically and like it coming from like a place of just purity. You can't fake that shit.
yeah,
And so, like, I think that, like, people see it and it is what it is, like that, because that is what it is. And I think that right now, like, the big thing that we kind of face, because we're at this point, and we have all this, we just push ourselves to make the best music and the best stuff, but like, from like a plan, like how music works, I've had to learn quite a bit, and I would say we're still at the bottom of the mountain, like looking up, because we don't
mm,
have straight up like how music works in this day and age is like all those playlists that you see on Spotify, all the radio, all the radio say every all the pipes of distribution. It's all controlled by the majors, bro. That shit is
right,
real. And it's controlled by the major labels. And I'm not saying that's bad or good, but it makes it harder if you're not in those systems. Like, those guys
yeah,
got those guys got real estate. They got real estate. where it's like,
That I think that's the thing that people don't realize because they think the industry's changed so much where it's like the people have the power, which is true, but there are still outlets that are controlled by majors, like you just said,
yeah,
right?
it's true to a certain extent, right? Like
Yeah.
you can create a wave and like pop off, which a lot of things have happened, and those are the best artists because when people love them for who they are, that's the strongest connection. You know, like all the stuff that happened
Yeah.
in South Florida, that whole wave, you know, in hip hop, that shit was just
Yep.
that shit was just them. And
The people find them first before the majors
that's
do.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening though is, you know, you got the majors just coming in and like they see this stuff bubbling. They say, "Hey, yo, like we're gonna give you all the creative control," and then they, you know, they offer probably a gazillion dollars to these artists. What ends up happening is like at a certain extent, I think that artists feel like they have to, you know, be with those people. They have to go with the majors because how long can they sustain like this natural kind of traction that they have? And you know, I think the artists that have really sustained their own followings and their own success year over year is very few, man. Like it's
Yeah.
not common. You know, it's way more common for people to fall off and you know have
Yeah.
6 months and then it's like, well, yo, where is this dude? You know, there's so many, and so yeah, man. And it doesn't, and also it doesn't even matter if you're with a major because that can happen to you, and thus that's why music is just inherently so difficult. But I think that
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to much of that. Like I understand that, and I'm aware, but like I
Mm-hmm.
love I love what we have. Like and my whole thing, and I always talk to you about this, is how important it is. It's been so fucking hard to get here, bro. Like in so
Yeah.
many ways, like in all ways. And we've
Yeah.
had to learn a lot of things. And I think that we're much better for it. And we have a very clear vision of where we want to go for the future. But like the whole thing is protect our magic. We want to protect what we have. We want to protect it, you
Right.
know, like from a business perspective. Because, dude, every single major label has hit me up a billion times, you know, like trying to
Right.
do X,
Right.
Y, Z up and down the block. And, dude, again, everything is just we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect our magic. You know, we want to be able to
No,
just
for
do
sure.
what the fuck we want to do at all times.
And it's crazy because nowadays, as soon as you start getting notoriety, you have the love, you have the hate. It's just every day just protecting that energy from ill intentions. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
dude, it's tiring, bro. But you know, obviously, you know, you either succumb to all that or you fucking fight through it, you know. And so
You just keep
you got to
pushing.
keep
Yeah.
pushing. You have to, and like the because I know that like this is a thing, right? It's like we want to be able to keep going so that we could just go to the next step. It's all just
Right.
how can we just keep going to the next step because we have so much that we want to do, right? And so that's the whole thing, man. You know, you're aware. It's like it's all just like how do we move to the next step? That's why you don't see us do all this like crazy ass shit and like you know, I'm not like all over the internet all the time. It's like, you know, we just want to just do things our own way, really.
Well, let me ask you these couple. I have a couple of questions here from the chat. From this is from Turtle Duck. He says, when it comes to tapping into the Asian market, particularly China and Korea, is there pressure to censor some of the content?
Yes, there is. Cuz, you know, they just don't allow it. I mean,
Right.
there's no fucking way around it. It's like it depends, right? It's like, look, if if we have an artist that just wants to say whatever they want at all times, then and I liked that particular artist and I want to work with that artist,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm not gonna stop him or him or her from doing that. You know,
Yeah.
but like in our case, yeah, like our artists want to have influence. They want to be big. They want their music to be heard. So they don't want to just be fucking. They don't want to have their stuff not being able to even purely be experienced on like these platforms
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You know, so
100%.
that's kind of what it is.
I think a lot of these artists, younger artists will realize it does get difficult when you start becoming a professional musician and artist. There are a lot of hurdles. Of course, like you should continue to be the truest, honest version of yourself, but it's just the price you pay with this kind of professional level of like becoming a musician or artist, right? Like you have to, whether it's visuals, global, try to get get things globally. There are rules at certain places, and it's hard to get around those rules.
100%.
You know,
And also there's a rules, and I don't think that is the you make a great point, but I don't think that's the driving factor of the artists like evolving. It's more so
yeah,
them evolving as people, and what they want to talk about is also changing. Like Brian might want to talk about, you know, a girl or something like that, or how he's feeling in a relationship, or his talk about
yeah,
his family or whatever. Like that's what's like the artists are writing about stuff that is just inspiring to them, and that's I'm not saying that's anything special to the 88 Rising guys, but you
yeah.
know they're just not out there like talking about you know shit that might get frowned upon, I guess you could say, for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like in general they're like trying to do that, and you're like, chill out.
Right.
You know? But there's another question here from Josh. Does Sean feel pressure as one of the most prolific driver and tastemakers for Asian American content? Is there an element of greater purpose beyond art?
I mean, like absolutely, because and it already is that, and I think that even in the beginning when we started, like we would work with a lot of all people, like rap, like and that's gonna that same thought is continue to this day, to where it's like we just want to be able to utilize our platform too to be able to bring people closer together and understand each other, get educated a little bit more. And I think that's our role. I don't think that we're ever going to change the universe, but it's like, and that's not, but it's like if we can help people kind of understand each other, their upbringings, their different journeys,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I think that we can do. And that's kind of where, as an example, the whole program that we're doing around just like hip hop culture, the trailblazers, giving them the platform to speak about their own journeys, like all that stuff, it's going to allow people to understand more, but also like get into the music more. So there's like all these things that hopefully happen off the back of all of this. And so, that's just like
Yeah.
one example of something that we're doing beyond, just like, hey, here's music for music's sake, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I will say one thing, for a lot of the listeners out there, I mean, when you see 88, you might think of the names of the roster, right? Like Joji, Nikki, Brian, or whatnot. But, my experience working with 88, there's so many talented visual artists behind the scenes, photographers, videographers, directors, marketing, branding, graphic designers, like all the flyers you see, the merch, the collaborations. And I think that part is really amazing too, and I feel like that that's something that I really respect y'all, because y'all really go out and find these cats. And there's a lot of young people, that get brought onto these projects.
Yeah.
And so one of these questions here says, I currently work at a small film production company, but I'm starting to look into entertainment consulting. Do you guys have any advice on that front?
Entertainment consulting, that sounds broad as fuck, bro.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Entertainment consulting.
I want to be an
Is that
consultant.
like,
yeah.
what? Just like, hey fam, what do you think? Let me tell you what I think.
Shout out that person. Yeah, but like, what? Like, I would say, like, bro, I don't even know how to answer that one.
That is broad. That sounds like some shit like I'll make up for my own title. I'm an entertainment consultant.
Just like it's like entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if entertainment consulting, it's like you would need mad experience to do entertainment consulting. Like, it's just weird to be like, I'm gonna be an entertainment consultant without experience. Like, that's your entry point. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
It's like Martin Scorsese. That motherfucker's an entertainment consultant. He can say that shit. People like that.
I will tell you, there are a lot of, like, I know this, Sean. We've worked with people who do consult and who have a lot of experience in certain worlds, that when we're trying to do collaborations and stuff, and usually they have a huge resume or a history, right?
Sorry, what was the question?
No, I was just saying, like a lot of the people that do consulting, or we tend to work with, whether it's like 88 trying to learn more about this industry, this to do a project in, it's usually working with people who have mad experience in that field or have a resume, or yeah, they've already done a bunch of collaborations in the past. But even that's hard to read because there's also mad bullshit
Oh yeah.
people. There's, there's mad bullshit motherfuckers that you take a chance on and you don't get much on return there, as far as an in or network,
It's happened a lot.
but
Like there's a lot of
yeah, yeah,
consultants, and and they do have merit and they do have experience. They might just,
yeah,
when you're a consultant, in our experience, it's like you have so many different things going on typically. Like they're not focused on
right,
you. And so, you know, and it's also just like you get a sliver of potential, like some dimes, some knowledge, but the actual
right.
work is limited typically. But look, I mean,
That's
there's
true.
also some people that have like helped us just by merit of wanting to try to help us, and they've changed our lives. They've changed the game for the company. Like,
100%. Yeah.
look, like 2 years ago, we had aspirations of we would love to make a movie or be like have like tell a story on screen, but we didn't know how to do that. So like even
Yeah.
working with even you yourself, man, like all the progress that you've made in the past year to 18 months is insane, bro. Like you're like
Yeah.
everywhere, and like I think that you've really it's really like dope to see like how you just like really just embody. It's like a natural thing. All the things that you're doing, from stand up to podcast, hosts of shows, like and I'm sure you're going to be doing acting more. It's like it seems like you're calling, bro. And like you're like fulfilling all that stuff. And so I think for us too, like for film and stuff like that, we have amazing stories that we want to tell on screen. And like,
Yeah, let's talk
yeah,
about that, because that is one of the questions. Where do you what other projects beyond music is 88 Rising kind of going towards? And I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but I think people are curious, and I know I've been working with you on stuff, and there's been a lot of exciting kind of projects in the works. I'm not going to go specific, but I mean, how much you want to share about it?
I think that at the core of everything that we're doing right now, because like there's music and that's what people might know us for, but it's kind of going back to your original question of like, hey, do we have aspirations beyond just the art? And art is always going to be inherently part of everything that we do. But I think that we just want to be able to do it in different mediums. And sometimes, and I think that we've realized this, is that we don't want to be beholden to all those who control the pipes, the distribution pipes. And like that's how we started, is just being rogue and doing things ourselves, like super DIY on some punk rock like mentality. And I think that if we can do that in other mediums, that's great. But we also understand the importance of having our own pipes. Like, and so
Yeah.
to your point, you're working on some of this stuff. It's like, we want to be able to have our own, like build our own other platforms so that we can put people on them, you know, plain and
Yeah.
simple. And I will say that shit, I wish I could talk about it, but like,
I know there's
if
some
the
good.
shit is gonna be tight and it's gonna be amazing, and it's something historic that I think is gonna be really important, because we're gonna be able to do like create so many different programs and shows through this
Yeah.
through this thing. So, you know,
There's definitely some exciting stuff in the
yeah.
works. From TV to film. Um, yeah, I mean, there's something that's going to be announced in a whole nother medium, like in a month or
In a month.
so. It's going to be cool.
Yeah. In a
Um, is expanding to Europe on 88's roadmap? That's a question from somebody.
I think that, I mean, like, first of all, we have a lot of fans across Europe. I think that it's such a dope place. I think that uh, when you say expand, if we were ever have an office there, that would be amazing. Because I'll post up in Paris or something like that. That
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a dream. But I guess maybe, I mean, they're talking about maybe working with some European
Oh hell
artists.
yeah, we have a couple things going on with like a Russian artist. There's some we're working with like a Swedish artist right now. So yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
all natural, man. Like, bro, like it's whatever comes our way. It doesn't matter where you're from. We're working with like a bunch of Latin music artists right now, and it's all just like
Sick.
love and respect. Like, I don't know if you saw like J Balvin's like architecture video of his home.
Oh, so sick. So his that place is like one of the best celebrity cribs I've ever seen. We talked about this, and I told you he dropped the bar on that. He was like, "I don't have any art in my house because my house is art." Bro, that
That's
shit was a
hard.
fucking. But it made
Yeah.
sense. Like if you see his place, that completely makes
Oh
sense.
yeah.
That whole thing is a piece of art.
Yeah, man, dude. I
Um,
just like you kind of like look at how like no houses can really compare to that shit anymore. It's like you just
Shit was
yeah,
crazy.
it's amazing.
It's
But it's
crazy.
what's dope about that, and it's also dope. Like we're working with Wu Tang right now a lot on a lot of different initiatives, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that like we don't seek each other out. We just come together somehow. We're not seeking each other out. It's just like naturally we come together because I think that and same thing with like J Balvin or something where he has a deep appreciation of like in his case like Japanese modern architecture and like
Yeah.
you know that's how we're like, oh dude, like why don't we continue and tell because like architectural digest is very like high level, it's like on a flex, right? But
Yeah.
like if we
Yeah.
can maybe do something together where we go deeper into those who kind of trailblaze this style and like have other elements to it of what he appreciates of, say in his case, Japanese culture. Super dope. And then dude, who knows, like
I think
then we'll do a
and that's
song,
so
and then we'll do
important. That's so important. We have these voices in those communities to understand like we have such appreciation for each other's cultures. You know, someone like a voice like J Balvin can change so much perspective, whether it's in the Latin community to even the Asian community about each other's
yeah,
communities. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's literally these bridges that can be built. All right, we're not gonna go too much longer, but I do want to try to maybe take a call or two, Tony, if there's any questions from anybody around the world. Okay, there's no callers. It's all right.
Damn.
All right, that's fine. But we got a lot. It's because people be shy. They're just sending in like questions through email and stuff. So we got some email questions here. Um, Let me see. Let's just take. So where do you see 88 in the next 5 to 10 years?
Um, shit. I have no idea, bro. I think like
I
I
mean,
don't
I
want to
guess
be
maybe
like
just
this like media mogul type person. Like I'm just
right.
creative, bro, and like as long as we are making stuff that we appreciate, then I'm happy. I think that to your point, like and things that we've been talking about is like hopefully we can continually build our own means of distribution and platforms and stuff like that so that we don't have to wait on anybody to tell us yes or no or if something's good enough, like um, that's something that's really important to me, and I think that we can do it because we've been doing that, and so we will do it.
Is that tough? Like when so many huge companies or corporations or labels come to you, with promises of different things for you to kind of be like, we want to keep it and we want to have control of this thing and we don't want to lose that, but I'm sure they're promising you the fucking world on a silver platter and shit.
Oh yeah.
Is that like hard to balance those decision making, like, because it's, I get it. It's not like they're just coming like just with money, but they are offering these pipelines.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like a big part of it because everybody at the end of the day has the same capabilities, right? Like if they want to. And the thing to kind of figure out and filter out is how much do they want to? Like how much do they really believe? Where like how big is the passion for trying to help us? Like everybody says that they understand us. Like it's
Yeah.
really funny. Like a lot of labels always tell us and like people in the industry that there's all these people like creating new companies and things saying we're going to be the 88 Rising for this, we're going to be the 88 Rising
Right.
for that, which is really dope to hear that that maybe we've created a cool example.
Like a template. Like this is yeah.
Yeah, but like there is no template for this shit because like it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's not easy, but
That's so easy to
it's so
say.
easy to
We're just
say.
gonna
Yeah,
be
it's like we're
this
gonna be
and
the 88
that
Rising for whatever. It's like
for food. It's like okay.
bro, my hair is so gray because of this shit, man. Uh,
Yeah, I feel like since I met you, your hair has gotten more gray.
oh man, it's crazy. But yeah, like that's the whole thing, and it's like like the passion, the business will always be there, but like, do you have the passion to truly help us? And I think
Yeah.
I think that's something that we always kind of look at.
Yeah, yeah. And there's like this huge like cultural element of like Asian voices, right? That that has a big part of this integral level to keep, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of it kind of goes back to how when we step to people in Asia to try to work together, like the differences of communication and how they receive it from between us and another major label. It's us it's us like speaking like in the same language, same terms. It's like we're versus somebody else just trying to be a vulture really and just trying to just
Yeah.
oh, they look at everything as like numbers. It's all data to them. There's no bigger purpose. So I think that's the obvious difference with us, frankly.
Well, that's what's up, Sean. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody who joined on this live and chat. You can, of course, hear this on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube tomorrow. But thanks, Sean. I appreciate you, man. I think a lot of every day since I've met you and what you've built, like I've been getting so many messages from people and young people just constantly like asking me about 88, whether it's like to get a job there or work there or how much they're inspired by 88.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Which is great
appreciate
too, though,
everybody.
because
Like we're nothing without everybody, and like we're all together, we're all in this together. So I just hope that we can continually make everybody proud, and
yeah.
that's really it's really simple.
And let me tell you guys, it's not so far fetched. Like if you go to job websites, they have 88 Rising job posts. Like you can actually apply for jobs at 88.
You don't gotta flood Dumb's DM.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. There's not that many people in the chat. No. I'm just saying there are opportunities there at the company. You just have to have the right skill traits, and like to get the job done. And I appreciate you because I've definitely forwarded you people, who have different types of skills in what you were looking for, and you hit me up all the time. Do you know this dude for this job or whatnot? And like, give a lot of opportunities for cats, and you just automatically just push forward with it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like a huge process.
That's because I trust you, bro. I don't trust many people.
I know. I gotta be careful with that card now. I can't just be throwing randos.
I know you lose the trust real quick.
I know. I can't lose that card. I can't lose it. Yeah. Sean, I appreciate you, brother, man.
Love you, bro.
Wait, what are some this 88 releases coming up?
Okay, so we have Nikki Moonchild on September 10th, and then Joji just 2 weeks later. So
Sick.
it's all we're all working every single day on this, and yeah, man. I mean, hopefully the world receives it and takes it and loves it.
Yeah. And there's some big stuff in October we can't talk about now, but I'm part of as well, and there's going to be some exciting stuff with 88 coming out in different mediums.
Hell yeah, man.
Look out for the 88 Broadway show.
Let's go.
No,
Let's go.
the play. All right. Thanks, Sean.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Tune in next week for another episode of Fun with Dumb. Peace.
See ya.